Well, once again, I take this moment to welcome you to our lesson as we talk about the while statement. Remember, we are still covering the aspects of iterations or loops in C programming. There are quite a number. Of course, we have the while statement or while loop, we have the do while, and we also have the for loop. So allow me to take you through quickly this segment. Then I will demonstrate practically how all of these loops are implemented individually. So when you talk about the while statement, it is a statement or a control structure that is going to execute a given or a block of statements until a given condition is met or satisfied. So as you can see from here, we are saying that your statements are executed, yes, until something happens, until a given condition is made. And this is important to mark. This is very key to mark in this while statement. But the condition is always tested first before statements are executed. That is to say, if the statement, if the condition is false, then that loop will never execute even a single statement. It will never. So this is how it's written. As you can see here, this is how it is written. Syntax of this thing is while, then you give us the expression, then you give us a statement. Like if I say while a is equals to 10, then you're going to print maybe I am less than 10, okay? I am less than 10. But the moment that 10 is met, you break that particular loop. And something just to mention is that we are utilizing a lot of operators, and in this sense we're using arithmetic operators. So we will be counting. There's a count every time the loop runs. That is 1. The second time will be 2, 3, like that, and we're comparing that value versus what is given in the expression. So the moment they are equal, if that is what we are looking for, you know, the next time it comes, it will be now greater. Then that loop must terminate. Okay, so let's see. When we go to the next, we have an example here of a program that uses while. We will implement this practically. This is the first preprocessor statement that calls the library into action. Then we have the main. Well, we have not included the word int here. It's important to have the word int or void main if it is returning nothing. We have declared an integer here, which we have assigned the value of 1 at its creation. So the memory location I is going to store the value 1. Then we are now saying while x is less or equal to 10. There is a problem here that we need to look at. You know, where is this x coming from? It is not declared, okay? So we need to change this one. That is something that we need to do. So in this case, let's say this is gonna be I, okay? That is I. We continue. So while I is less or equals to 10, print f %d I. We are going to just output I here. So the first time the loop runs, the I will be equal to 1. The second time it will run, it will be now print fi, then you increment the value. So that the second time it is running, the value will be 2. The third time it will be running, the value will be 3, like that. And we will be able to demonstrate this practically as we do it, and we will be able to run it so that you can see. Then we have the do while statement. In do while, it is quite different from the while, from the aspect that it has a bit of do. And this do would come first. So you do something first, then you go to confirm the condition, okay? Like, you know, if somebody was, let's say someone was shouting that there is a child on the road and the vehicle is coming. This person is a bit far, but they have seen the child. You know, you will not have to confirm whether that is your child or not. You will just have to run and then save the child first. And later on is when you now want to interrogate. Okay, if it is a child, then you're gonna take them home. If not, you're gonna look for their parents. In this case, we're saying that if you know, we're gonna do something, and if the expression is not true, then we will terminate that loop. Okay. This is what I'm saying. This is do. This is the syntax do. Then you give us a statement. Then you have the while, and then you give us the expression. Now look at where the statement is vis-a-vis the other one. In this while statement, the statement is actually at the end. What is to be executed? On this other end, the statement is at the middle here, before we even test the expression. The condition is tested after the statement being executed at least once. If you are printing I am less than 10, you will print that one at least once. So you need to know when and where do I apply the do while loop, and where do I also use the while loop. An example for this case is here, where we are saying do while example. In this case, we want just to print some values here. Of course, values that are less than 10, between 1 and 10, and we are using, this is preprocessor, main as usual, int I is equals to 1. We have initialized this I with a value of 1, and then we are saying do. What are you doing? Print %d. So if at all that this condition here is not true, okay, this statement will have already executed at least once, even if this one is not true. But on the other hand, if the condition is not true, then there was not going to be any execution in this code here for the while. If this is not true, the execution here will not be done at all. But on this other end, even if this one is not true, there will be at least one running. So the question is, where should we apply this in a real life situation? So printf, we are printing, and then we are doing incrementation right inside here on the do. So the count is incremented, and then we are saying while I is less or equal to 10, and then we return 0. So this loop is also going to run the first time, the second time, the very time it runs, and then it finds that I is now greater than 10, because in this case 10 is included, it's inclusive, less or equal to 10 will be done. This is the boundary. Okay, so that is it, brothers. We will demonstrate it practically. And then we have the differences here. These are things that you can get to know from any platform. In the while loop, the condition is tested first at the beginning, and then in do while we test the condition last. Okay. Then again, in a while loop, the statements in the loop are executed only if the condition is true. That is very true because it comes first. The condition comes first. On the other hand, even if the condition is not true, the statements will execute at least one time. Then there is the for loop, which is also important to look at. The for loop is a control statement that we also use it in situation where there is repetition. We want to execute a given code at given times. So it is quite different from the while and the do while loops. Like, look at here. For, this is the syntax. You begin by for, and then you do the initialization immediately. You don't declare the variable out there and then you give their initialization. You do the initialization from inside here, and then you will give us the condition that you are checking, and then you're gonna do the increment or a decrement right here. So it has got three parts: the initialization, you have the condition, and you have the increment or decrement section. And then you give us a code that you want to be executed right here in these blocks. Okay, so that if you are saying for I is equals to, or you assign the value of 1, then the condition is I is less or equal to 10, and then you say I plus plus. That is to increment. I've explained these values here, these things here. I've already explained all of them, so I don't need to go through that again. This is a summary. This bit here is a summary. Okay, then how do you implement it? Look at this example right here now. You have the first statement being the opening one, and also you have the int main. This is almost written in continuous. Then you have int I. We have declared the loop right there. This is a loop that is going to print 5 items. So declaring that loop, there's a control variable I here. And then we are saying now, look at the way we have done. It's very simple. It's not complicated like the other one. We are saying I is equals to 1, or you assign the value of 1, and then I is less or equal to 5. Then you increment I plus plus. This is to increment. If the first time this computer program runs, you will have I as 1. The second time, the counter would have been increased, so this I will be 2. The third time, it is going to be 3, 4, until it is at 5. So printf, we're just gonna print on the new line every aspect. We are printing everything on a new line, so that 1 will be on its own line, 2 on its own line, like that up to 5. So this is going to print the values of I, and that is how that program is designated. So welcome on the other part 2, so that we now implement these loops practically, so that we see. But then you need to know the difference between this for loop, do while loop, and while loop. When are they very appropriate to be used? And you know, they are used where things are being there's repetition of things. And that is it for today.